allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take roll call, please.
Trustee Spurling? Here. Trustee Lee?
Here.
Trustee Hines?
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman?
Yes.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Biden?
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda is our chance for the public to make some comments. If you keep them close to 2 minutes, and if somebody is ready. Any public comments tonight? Okay. Moving right along. Presentation on the free library. I presume that's Stanley.
Justin's going to help me then. I may go to the podium so I can see the...
Let's see better.
Sorry. We have a couple of residents with us who have been involved in the Little Free Library program, and I may, if this goes quickly, ask them to make a comment or two as well. The Little Free Library program for Montgomery started late last summer when President Brawley had heard about something similar in DuPage County, in Wheaton, Glen Ellen area, and he asked me if I'd heard of it. I had to confess I had not, and he asked if I would take some time to look into it and see if it's something we should explore. And we did some calling, we did a lot of homework. The more we learned about it, the more it looked like something that definitely did belong in Montgomery and any other neighborhood where literacy and family reading is valued. So we became very interested, and one of the things we discovered is that these weren't part of our ordinances. There was not a provision in the Montgomery zoning ordinances to provide for these. It's a new concept, it's new nationwide. So in the late fall and early winter, the village board and the plan commission and our staff began to work on what would be involved in setting some standards for these and making them possible in Montgomery. And then we dove headlong into what has come to be known as the polar vortex. I think 2 of the plan commission meetings either were canceled or should have been because it was 20 below and snow up to here. But we got through all of that and we arrived at a process that would make these possible. They do require a permit, but it's easy to get. And as soon as this one was installed, which is less than a month ago, on June 28th, the very next day, books were in it. We hadn't even had time to explain to people, here this is and here's how to use it. Maybe this has been your experience as well, but the flow of books now has been steady. It's, by my estimate, we've maybe handed out 70 to 75 books in less than a month. And it's like a kaleidoscope. Every day you walk by, there's a different set of books in there. Sometimes it's chock full, sometimes it's almost empty, but that was the whole idea. So the point of the slideshow, photographs and comments from families began pouring in right away. And for those of you who were willing to entertain this new idea and work through the process, survive the polar vortex, I thought it would be kind of fun just to show some of the images that have been sent back in the comments from the Little Free Library. So, Justin, if you would help walk through. The concept of these Little Free Libraries is if you can, you bring a book. If you can't, that's fine. Take a book to share. And you'll see some comments that I won't read on some of the slides, but these have come from families along the walking path. This one is positioned along a community walking path near a playground. If you would, go ahead and advance. This should look familiar to some of our guests tonight. And just keep going if you would, Justin. So again, it's called a Little Free Library. There's a website called littlefreelibrary.org where you can learn more about these. You can buy them. This one was a donation. They can be a number of different size or decorative patterns. The sizes have been pretty well established of what's convenient for a neighborhood and easy for kids to use. This was the very first photograph to come to us, and it's a precious one, as have been all of them. What we're seeing is this has been of great interest to young children, and it's, I think, helped bring some families together around the concept of books and reading. This little girl just sat down right on the spot and began looking at hers, and her mom was enthused about that. These pictures all came back within the first 7, easily the first 10 days of the library being installed, and they're still coming in. A request, can we have some of these in some other parts of town? So the last picture on the library says Chapter 1. The book says Chapter 1, and I think that may be appropriate. Maybe that is Chapter 1 in our journey in Montgomery to promote family reading and literacy. To all of you who worked on this and devoted energy to it and thought to it and helped us work through the problems and the pitfalls, thank you. And I hope these slides have said to all of us it was worthwhile after all.
Would you ladies like to say something?
Thank you, Stan.
Dan contacted me today. I'm Pamela Copeland, and I live in Montgomery. I live in the Montgomery Crossings neighborhood, and my library has been up just about a month longer than your library. I didn't know the Village of Montgomery was doing this. I recently graduated from college, and I asked for this for a college graduation present from my husband, and some friends built me a little library that's much like that one, and it sits at my house. I didn't know there was a permit also involved. I think it's so new, the zoning board also wasn't really sure what to do with me. I love my library. I love the public library, but it is so delightful to see kids come and take books out of the library and to bring. Mine's a little bit different concept. I pretty much supply all of the books, but my neighbors come and donate. And I had about 500 children's books in my own personal library, and I have to date been donated probably between 500 and 750 books to my house to use in the library. So we have books everywhere in our house. The only thing that we request at our library is that they're all rated PG or under, since we have kids that are accessing the library itself. We have games that go in. It's great. I think it's wonderful, and I think I would love to see the Village of Montgomery do more of them. And then also they're great for nonprofits, and I talked with Family Focus in Aurora yesterday, and we'll be talking to Hesed House about putting a little free library at their location. They actually are not just in the United States, they're worldwide. And the little library, it's worth your time to go on and look at the website. So, but I'm thrilled you guys are doing this. I think it's great. So thanks for putting your time into it. So
Could you sign the sheet there and just put that you spoke on the library?
and my friend Amy came with me. I don't know if she wants to say anything. She came because I don't like to.
We'll make
sign
Amy
myself.
say something.
My name is Amy Terry, and I live in the Lakewood Creek subdivision, about 3 blocks from Pam's little free library. And I have teenage children who we've donated a lot of children's books to our library. And the Lakewood Creek subdivision in the area has a wonderful little website on Facebook. And Pam has done a lovely job of, whenever she pulls books out and replaces the books in the library, she announces it on the Lakewood Creek page and says, "This is what's new in the little free library today. And today we're doing American Girl books, and we're doing Lego books or building." So she's got lovely little themes that go along with her library. And so many people I have seen on this page say, "Oh, can I donate you books?" And I watch as they come to her front door and on the porch. And when she says there are books everywhere in her house, she is not kidding. And she does such a great job of filtering the books before they go into the library so that there's some accountability to the PG rating. And I'm super excited to hear that Montgomery has more of these. I think that the literacy in this community is going to continue to grow as you continue to invest your time and energy on the kids and their literacy needs through cool programs like this, like the Little Free Library. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Stan. Moving on with the agenda, we'll go to the consent agenda. Minutes of the village board meeting of June 23rd, the building report for June 2/14, accounts payable through July 8th in the amount of $323,337.02. Cancellation of the July 22nd Committee of the Whole meeting, and appointment by the village president of Pat Torrance, 526 South River, to the Historic Preservation for a term from June 1st, 2014 through May 31st, 2017. Take a motion to accept?
Second.
Trustee Heinz?
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman?
Yes.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes?
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes. Okay, going to items for separate action. The award of contract for asphalt paving to Geneva Construction in the amount of $47,390. Michael?
Thank you, President Lee. In your packet tonight is a request to award a contract to Geneva Construction Company of Aurora in the amount of $47,390. This is for asphalt patching to repair the roadways where we had water main breaks and service line freezing over the winter. So we received 3 bids. They're all in your packet. They range from Geneva's at just over 47 to FH Passion at just under 90. So fairly straightforward. This is asphalt patching. There's some minor concrete curb and gutter and sidewalk replacement that will be done with this. But I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Will they do some of that patching before Montgomery Fest, like down on
Yes.
River Street?
Yep, Gary and I have talked about that. There's 2 or 3 patches on the parade route that we want to get.
Very good, thank you.
The Boulder Hill, the cost of the main breaks in Boulder Hill, is that a burden that the entire village carries? That's not isolated to just Boulder Hill, is it?
The funds are taken out of an account that is supported by water rates that everyone pays.
Okay.
Any other questions?
We've used Geneva before, I'm
We have, yes.
guessing.
Yes. They're a quality company. They'll do a good job for us.
Any other discussion? Need a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second?
Roll call?
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Heinz? Trustee Youngerman?
Yes.
All right, professional service agreement with Engineering Enterprises for the Mill Street Bridge evaluation in the amount of $29,818. Next on the agenda.
Thank you. In your packet tonight is a request to award a professional services agreement to EEI for a lump sum total of $29,818. This is to inspect and review the Mill Street Bridge deck. So the end product of this agreement will be a bridge condition report and a recommendation on future repair needs. At some future budget, we'll make a request for the actual construction dollars to do that work. But this is the engineering review and analysis. So EEI will manage the inspection, but we'll use a subcontractor, Alfred Benish Incorporated. They were structural engineers and specialize in this type of work. So as many of you have seen on the Mill Street Bridge, there's already surface delamination. We fill in with cold patch, but we suspect that the deterioration goes further into the deck. So we really need to have an in-depth analysis of what's there to determine whether we're talking minor repairs or could be major bridge deck replacement. But we won't know until we get this report done. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions if you have any.
When was the last major work on that bridge? What year, do you remember?
2004, 3, it was early in my tenure. We did some deck repairs, they straightened the arch facades, et cetera.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, take a motion on that.
Second.
Trustee Heinz? Trustee Youngerman?
Yes.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes. Okay, the last thing under separate action is the award of contract through King County bid to perform traffic control systems of Elk Grove for pavement marking services not to exceed $22,000. Great
Trustee
again
Lee summed
tonight.
that up very well. That's pretty much the A to Z of this one. Preform was awarded a contract through the Kane County bidding process, so this project has been bid. We've used Preform for the last decade or so to do our street striping. That's what this will do. So our budget is $22,000. My intention is to spend all the way up to that. It'll be a variety of things from edge lines and center line skip dashes to some crosswalk repainting, stop bars, some lettering. We work with their staff to make the determination of the final work as we kind of go through it, and they help us with some inspection. So pretty straightforward. This is for pavement striping. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Will they do this? I noticed in other parts of Kane County, or I should say even Aurora, they're striping a lot now. Are this going to be done in the early fall or late summer?
I think it'll be no later than late summer. I haven't spoken to them yet as far as schedule, but they generally take less than a week to do Montgomery for the amount we do, so they're usually pretty prompt once we get the agreement signed. So I don't know if it'll be prior to Fest, but I would say certainly by the end of August.
Very good. Any other discussion? If not, take a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Bond.
Yes.
Trustee Spurling.
Yes.
Trustee Lee.
Yes.
Trustee Hens.
Yay.
That completes our items for separate agenda. We have one item for discussion, the CBS outdoor sign. Mr. Philip Chuck is here tonight again, along with the CBS representative.
Yes, good evening. John Philipchuk on behalf of CBS Outdoor. With me is Sharon Briani from the real estate manager for CBS Outdoor. The last time I was before you a couple of months ago, Teresa was not present at the meeting, and so President Brawley suggested that we come back and we get a full board, so now he's not here. But be that as it may, at least 3 of the trustees expressed some interest in pursuing the idea of trying to work out some arrangement between Steve Anderson and I to come up with an idea that we could exchange basically the condemned sign on bypass 30 that is condemned by IDOT for the new interchange work in exchange for that sign to be able to be slid back and kept basically in the same location, about 15 feet or so is about what we'd need to move it. That CBS Outdoor would be willing to take down one of their other current double-faced billboards in the community over on Route 31, kind of kitty corner across from Kaufman's. They're on the Bill Zanis property. There's a couple of billboards over there that are CBS Outdoors, and they'd be willing to take down that northerly-most one. It's the first one you see when you enter the village from the north going south on Route 31. We just received the notice from IDOT that the sign needs to be removed by July 25th. And so what we were hoping to do is to get some additional feedback from the trustees as to whether they think that something could be worked out here. I've tried to point out in the past that net, the bottom line is that there would be one less billboard in the community. And so as a result, we felt it would be more appropriate to maintain the sign that's over on Baseline Road, or excuse me, on Bypass 30, near Baseline Road, because both Menards has been advertising on it, Sam's has been, and they're currently, Sam's Club is currently advertising on that sign. As a new business in the community, obviously, they want to continue to get the word out. And we just think it's a good idea to promote those large sales tax generators for the community. And so as we think that the fact that they want to advertise on this particular sign based on the fact it's on a very busy road that's going to only get busier when you get IDOT to come around to widening it and extending the widening further west. And because it is an industrial area there, no question, that it would be logical to try to maintain that sign and remove another. So that's the proposal, simply put. And I understand that some of the trustees are concerned about amending the ordinance or changing the zoning ordinance to permit billboards, but I think due to the unique circumstances of this particular one, that perhaps Steve and I could carve something out that wouldn't cause a major overhaul in your zoning and in your billboard prohibitions. But it's a unique situation, but I think saving the taxpayers of Montgomery and Greater Illinois thousands and thousands of dollars, because they're not only going to buy the sign, they're going to buy the rest of the lease that's on that sign for the years that are still out there. So it's an expensive proposition, and it will cost all of us taxpayers money, if it is in fact removed and not replaced. So just another consideration that I think that when you add it all up, that we can still be net one less billboard in the community, that we save the taxpayers some money, that we help promote big sales tax revenue generators in the community. It's a pro-business action. I think you really should give it serious consideration, and let Steve and I work something out, and let's try to save it for the community. Thank you.
I have a question.
Just to make a first point, this is the sign, some of the trustees questioned where it was. This is the one by Aurora, used to be the Aurora Forklift.
Yes.
And it's the gas company right
Yes,
before that.
That's where it's currently
Right,
located.
on 30, going that way.
Bypass 30 west of the interchange.
Okay, go ahead, Doug.
Just a couple of points. The net, that there'll be one less billboard in town, if we take this sign down, the net is one less billboard in town.
Correct.
So it's,
That's right.
no matter what, one billboard's coming down. I'm not sure how this billboard ties to another billboard, how one has anything to do with the other.
CBS owns two. They would prefer to keep the one on Bypass 30. They'd be willing to give up the one over on Route 31. That's how it ties. It's just that CBS has more than one billboard in the community.
And is that not an industrial area as well? You said this is an industrial area. Is not the one on Route 31 also an industrial area?
Yeah, but it is, so to speak, I'd say it's commercial area. When you come in, you've got the Bearing Company, you've got GMC. It's, in the past, I think it was more industrial, yes. I don't know if that ready-mix plant will ever start up again, but I think that property is for sale, if I'm not mistaken. But I'd say it's more commercial than industrial. I think that's the way it's trended over the years. But that's an entrance into the community. When you come down Route 31 on Lake Street, that's the first thing you see as you enter Montgomery is a billboard.
Okay.
My question is for Attorney Anderson. I'm thinking here. I'm still thinking if anyone else has anything to say, they can go ahead. I'm still trying to figure out how I want to word my question.
Can we just fill in, Steve, like saying the Packers are going to have a great year, or what do you?
Okay, I have a
I hope
legitimate
not.
question. Let's just stop. Okay, come on. What's the difference in the lease terms of the one that you want moved versus the one you're talking about removing?
Sharon can answer that. She has all those.
Our lease on Route 30, that is under the threat of condemnation. The initial term runs through 2029, and then it goes year to year. Our lease is on Lake Street, Route 31. The term goes through 2019 and then year to year.
What was the second? I heard 2019.
And then year to year, I'm sorry.
Okay, for both, same terms then.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but actually, the one on Route 30 goes till 2029, yeah. So 10 additional years. Do you need me to sign?
Okay, my question, our existing ordinance it was the direction of a previous village board that they wanted to eliminate billboard signs. Our existing ordinance, if we were to approve moving this sign, does that give them just that sign through the lease period, through 2029? Or does that allow them an indefinite length of time on that sign? That's my first, and I'll let you answer that, because I'm sure I'm going to have more.
Okay. In order to grant the request, we're going to have to adjust the ordinance somewhat. That's what John referred to as he and I working together to figure out how to properly do it. So to some extent, I could answer your question either way. You know, we could set up the ordinance in such a way that it has no regard for length of duration. In other words, if it's an appropriate location, you know, it's allowed. On the other hand, we have on occasion limited a use temporally in time. I will tell you, I hesitate to do things on a temporal basis because it seems to me from a land use perspective, if you look at the conditions and the conditions are either met or not met, as the case may be, it's a little tough to impose those sorts of limitations. But theoretically, if that were the direction of the board, we could work something out like that.
Are we setting ourselves up for a legal battle if we allow this sign to be moved, and then we say you have to take it down in 2029?
If we do it well, hopefully not. I will tell you that what my own experience has been is that it's not so much the legal battle as the pressure that the board in the future, in 2029, will receive, just like when this board decided to make pole signs non-conforming. And you had a variety of your businesses come in and say, don't make, you know, at the end of the amortization schedule, don't make this happen. Ultimately, you adjusted on that. I think the likelihood is, just based on my own experience and perhaps a little bit of pessimism, is that that could easily happen in 2029. I think that the sounder practice would be to look at it as if the land use configuration supports allowing a billboard in that location, and you as a matter of policymakers want to allow those billboards in certain locations, I think maybe you don't look so much to time.
Are we setting a precedent?
The way we would design the ordinance, I think Attorney Filipchuk is right when he says that the situation's a little unique. If you look at the conditions there as they relate to any other place in the village, it is pretty unique. It appears for anybody who's outside of town like they're traveling down a highway. You know, it's controlled access, there's exits, there's on-ramps, there's off-ramps. It feels like you're on a highway. That is not true anywhere else in the village. It's not true on Orchard Road, it's not true on Route 31, it's not true anywhere else. So I think that we can legitimately, within customary land use planning standards, distinguish that area and create an ordinance that would allow it basically in that area with some separation requirements and pretty much nowhere else in the village. So no, I don't think you're setting a precedent for the entire village, although you might be setting it just for that conditional area.
So then, if one of these signs is eliminated on 31, the other sign, the lease agreement, is up in 2019, in another 6 years. What happens with that? I'm assuming, does that one have to come down? Or is it grandfathered in?
Which sign are we talking about?
We're talking, the site, we have two signs right now on 31, correct?
Yes.
If one of those comes down in this agreement, if we agree to move this sign on 30, and one of the signs comes down on 31, the only sign left on 31, the lease agreement is up in 2019. Does that mean it comes down in 2019? Or can the lease agreement be extended, and because it was there before we amended our sign ordinance, is it grandfathered in?
Okay, good question, and I'm going to have to answer it two different ways. The first way is based on the special use that was imposed on that property. That requires that both those signs come down in about 5 years. It's my position and the village staff's position that trumps any other rights. John and I would disagree on that issue. So that's, subject to debate. If I'm right about that, those are coming down within about 5 years, regardless of anything else. If, however, I'm wrong on that, then the lease is not the defining term. It's the fact that it's a lawful non-conforming use, which means until it were to fall down and couldn't be repaired, then it can stay.
Or the owner of the property decided not to renew.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, but that's controlled by private parties, not by the village, assuming I'm wrong about the special use.
I think that was part of the special use, because you and I were on Plan Commission when that came up. That was part of the special use.
Well, there's no question it's part of it. John and I just disagree as to the enforceability of it. John's wrong, for the record. But if he had the microphone, he might say I'm wrong.
Those were my questions.
Any other statements? I know we're talking about a couple of signs, and we've only, I think, got 6 in the whole village, so it's not that we're trying to expand however we vote. We're not trying to expand it, and we're not trying to really make anything except for this particular situation.
I would restate what I said before. I do not want to expand the number of billboards. I'm very happy with the ordinance as it's written. In this instance, though, this company did nothing to cause this situation, and they're proposing to just take the same sign and move it, not make it into something different or bigger. And I'm kind of sympathetic to that because it wasn't their issue that caused this situation. But I do not want to expand billboards and change our ordinance.
I think everybody kind of agrees with you on that, Stan. And I kind of agree with you, too. You're looking at, if it's to 2029, that's thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars that we could save the taxpayers, even though it's going to not affect us. We'd love to trade them for the road out farther on Route 30, but it's not going to happen.
I have no faith that the state of Illinois is going to spend that money wisely. None.
John, if you could get somebody from the state to commit to that,
Yeah, that would be really good, but that won't.
But had this widening and this reconfiguring of lanes and stuff at 30 and 31 not occurred, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. This sign would still be there through 2029,
Or beyond.
or, correct.
15
I do
feet
plan
makes
to
a
be
difference.
here in 2029 to engage in that discussion.
Any other comments, questions?
I think the village staff is looking for direction.
Well, I think John is too, if they've got to take the sign down. We can't vote on anything tonight,
No,
but we
but
can
you
have a
can-
consensus.
Yes, if we could get a consensus that we should either pursue, resolving it, or just tell them to take it down. That would be helpful.
All right, let's take a consensus with the idea of resolving the problem, yes or no type of thing.
Which means work with John to
Correct.
fix this issue. So if you say yes, that means the sign stays and moves slightly. Stays and moves 15 feet.
just moves. Yeah.
Trustee Spurling.
I am inclined to support the ordinance as written. I think we had a similar situation last year on Orchard Road, but we didn't have that other sign to take down, and Mr. Philipchuk and I had a conversation before the meeting as well. I'm going to stick with what I've said for quite some time on the billboards, and I'm going to say no go.
Trustee Lee.
Oh, I would be for with a yes.
Trustee Hines.
Yes.
Trustee Youngerman.
I know when the sign issue came up last year with the LED sign, I wasn't willing to do an LED sign. It was different than what was existing. I would have given them a billboard, but I wasn't willing to give them the LED sign. I'm inclined to say yes. I have to, my opinion's changed.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Bond.
Yes.
You have consensus?
Okay, Mr. Philippek, you have your answer?
We'll move forward.
Move forward with Mr.
Work
Anderson.
with Mr. Anderson and staff. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate all your
It needs to be a deal where we get that $500,000 or whatever it was from the state, and we need to work something out with them.
promise to spend it wisely. Thank you.
All right. Any more other new or unfinished business come before the board tonight? If not, I'll take them.
Just a point of discussion for some future. Perhaps the rest of the trustees, as well as myself, have received a lot of complaints about fireworks, illegal fireworks, large illegal fireworks. I know there are a lot of difficulties in enforcing those statutes, but I would welcome some conversation at some point about some creative thinking we might be able to apply to addressing that issue. I think it is getting worse, and I did get a lot of complaints.
Chief, did we confiscate anything?
I'm sorry?
Did we confiscate any type of fireworks over the 4th?
Yes, we did. But as Stan said, that week before and a few days after, we just maintain is all we do. We're never going to solve that.
Right.
I think you're right, Stan, we should have a discussion on it, maybe more publicity closer to the 4th. I had some fireworks that could match almost anybody, especially in noise, for a good hour and a half before 10 o'clock. And like I told my wife, at 10 o'clock, it'll probably quit, and it pretty close did in our neighborhood. But up until that time, and what does a squad car do? He's got to find them, which wouldn't have been hard in this case, because this guy had a light show that was tremendous, but I guess he had no other neighbors complain because a lot of them were over there, so I wasn't going to be the,
I had a neighbor that called the PD or dispatch and reported it, and they said, "Do you have the address?" And he didn't, and they said, "Well, there's nothing we can do," because he didn't have an exact address for where they were going off. And I don't know how you would. From where I live across the school field, you would be hard pressed to know exactly which house it was. Well, by us, they do them in the school lot. Because the next day we were at the park and it was littered with all spent shells. So,
Well, if there's a way we can just apply some good, fresh thinking to it, it's better than ignoring it. And
I'm sure the chief and deputy chief can come up with some idea by July 4th of next year.
Absolutely. We did chat about increasing the fine structure for that. So we will,
what's the current fine?
the current fine is up to $750.
I had a neighbor he used to do quite a nice display. I mean, they mounted them to boards, and it was borderline professional display. And when the police came, they informed him that the amount of explosives he had, they could call the ATF. And I can honestly tell you, he has never lit off another firework because of the fear of what was going to happen to him. So maybe that would work as a deterrent.
And I think a lot of us publicity, I didn't know the fee was at $750, but, and I know your patrolman driving around's bound to find some of these, because like across the river, you could see them really going off regularly. I mean, it was, but I didn't know, maybe just better publicity on how expensive it can be for the guy, and maybe the guy wouldn't think about it. If he's already got him, he's going to fire him. That's the way I look at it. And
Well, and again, if the fine was steep and better promotion, and maybe we'd have to throw some dollars at some overtime to have more patrol out that night, because, I mean, we don't have a ton of officers out just doing that.
Yeah, we have, especially the way July 4th fell on a Friday, we had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to deal with. So, but it also started in mid-June. I mean, it wasn't just July 3rd, it started, or July 2nd. It starts, people start letting fireworks off. So we'll definitely look at that and have a solution by next July 4th.
And just for the record, the $750 is the maximum fine we can impose by statute for a single violation. So we won't be able to bring you an ordinance that increases over that amount. But I suppose, Chief Myers, there's a possibility of charging them with a state charge that might carry more weight. I don't know. I don't know if there's got to be a.
Yes, we can do that also.
Yeah.
Is it a single violation for each firework?
Probably not. I've actually dealt with those cases before where you try to charge, multiple items as separate charges, and the courts have pretty routinely knocked that down.
Okay.
You arrive and confiscate the fireworks then?
Correct.
Did we have any DUI arrests over 4th of July?
I will have to check. I believe there was a post-press release.
Okay,
I will check and get back to you.
thank you.
Any other new or unfinished business?
I would like to place a ban on Notre Dame clothing inside the Village Hall and Green Bay Packers attire.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded.
If we're going to wear college attire, at least wear Buckeye attire.
Oh, God, can we get back to business?
I'd like to know when they're gonna bring that salary thing back to the board. It's been quite a while now.
They said the end, yeah, they said the end of the summer. I agree with you, Pete. It doesn't take that long, but I would presume, when?
We do have the salary survey results back. We are compiling them right now, and it should either be the July 28th meeting or the first meeting in August that we're bringing that back.
Yeah, 'cause that's been a couple months ago we had that up, wasn't it?
Yes. I question it with our president too, and I asked him not to have it the 28th. I will miss that meeting. Probably one of the first ones I'll be in Canada fishing with many Green Bay Packer fans. We plan on bringing a lot of fish back. So I'll miss that meeting. So the way he talked, it might have a shot of maybe your August, first meeting in August. Montgomery Fest is all set to go to, and Rich, go ahead.
Just wanted to remind the board that the plan commission normally be held this Thursday night has been moved to the 28th. So in case you have somebody who can help with those, it's been moved by 1 week.
I know I won't be here the 28th either. I'm going to be on vacation. So,
So it'll probably be brought back the first week of August. Montgomery Fest is all set to go. Mr. Dan Dufault is going to be our Grand Marshal. He already had what he wants on his sign. And I really think that every year we should have a business, and I've said this before, not individuals, but a business, be the Grand Marshal, because they're the ones that sponsor everything. But I think there should be an exception next year if Pete Hines says he's not going to run, and he will be available. I really think Pete, not just for what he did in the fest, but what he's done for our community in all the years he's been on, I think it'd be a great honor to have him as our Grand Marshal next year. Like I say, it's not just for the fest, and Pete and I haven't got along on everything, but we used to get along on most things, and still do, but I do think that he would be a good, and from then on, we can go with our JCAC high cutters, people that have given to the fest for years and years and have kept this fest going. But I think in this case, next year, if he's not going to run like he said and he's available, I think it'd be a good year for Pete to be our Grand Marshal.
You know what? We should take the oldest resident, this will be probably her last year around, we should get Ruth.
Ruth has been,
Yeah, but she wasn't 102 years old then either.
no, but she was 96 or whatever when I got her. Well, I know, but I don't even know if she's in that health, but we had her, and I think I'd rather have you, Pete. I'm sorry. You've done more work, and she's been here, but she had her honor, and I just think that maybe this isn't where to discuss it, but I want to do it now because discussion, as you see, starts up right away. And I'd rather see Pete next year, and then we'll discuss the businesses and whatever down the road.
I would agree.
Agreed.
Okay.
I agree.
That's just discussion. Any other new or unfinished business? If not, we'll take an adjournment.
So moved.
second.
Trustee Heinz. Trustee Youngerman.
Yay.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Bond.
Yes.
Trustee Spurling.
Yes.
Trustee Lee.
Yes.
Denny, you forgot about the meetings.
Oh, the final, everybody read the meetings on our page here, or look on your website. And go to page 2.